Whoa. Hey guys. All right. Okay. All right, so it looks like we have about 2751 people in the room. Uh, can you guys go ahead and let me know if you can hear the audio that's coming through? I'm looking at the chat right now, and um, so I see a lot of messages from a lot of people in the room. Can you tell me if you can hear me? Okay. Okay, so I can see what's going on in the chat. Just want to say good morning from San Francisco. It's currently I'm currently in the West Coast time zone, which is currently 9 a.m. in the morning, and I just wanted to quickly do a little live stream, a AMA type of little video here. And first of all, I just want to thank all of you guys for joining today. I don't know, it seems like all of you guys are in different time zones. So good morning. Should probably look at the camera here. I feel like the lighting really sucks, but you know, that's what we have to deal with when we go live. All right, Cape Town, South Africa. Google that though. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of hope everyone has kind of had a nice December, winter break, Christmas break if you celebrate Christmas, and also for those of you guys that have, well, I guess everyone is still in the year of 2016, right? Um, for those of you guys that are planning on enjoying your New Year's with some kind of epic party, make sure to stay safe and don't drink too much, I guess. Try not to have too much fun. Uh, I guess for those of you guys that are not with plans for the year of 2016, I guess I'll be here for just a little bit and keep you company for roughly half an hour or so. All right, maybe I can move this up a little bit. So in some of the eastern, or that's not eastern, but places in, I guess, Asia are definitely 14 or 15 hours ahead. So I guess it's, yeah, New Year's on that side of the world. So that's pretty exciting. I hope everyone has made their list of New Year's resolutions for 2017. And it's always good to get a good early start on your resolutions, because what you'll find is that it's really, really easy to procrastinate on your resolutions, and then you just never get to them, which really sucks, but that's, I guess, human nature. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna start off with some questions on the chat. I guess I'll just look at the ones that are coming in. I think I saw an interesting one up top somewhere. All right, so a very common question: why I never use storyboards or Zibs? I saw that you always use code. I was actually planning on doing a video on why storyboards are not so great, or why they're a pretty good tool, but why at the same time they're not really all that great. And So the big thing about storyboards, and probably some of you guys probably know this already, and some of you guys are probably still new to iOS programming. And the huge problem with storyboard is that I guess the biggest thing is that well, I guess what is the real problem here? When you're working on a team of developers in a company that's really, really large and you need to work together and commit all of the source code into one repository, you find yourself just hating the storyboard because it makes your life terrible. Merge conflicts, all that, super hard. The other problem with storyboards when making these tutorials is it's almost impossible to record a storyboard on the screen and then try to drag and drop IB outlets, IB actions, drag it into a different file, make sure your controller fits in the screen. It's almost impossible. If you look at some of these other channels where they try to teach you how to work the storyboard while they're recording on their screen, you can see how difficult it is for them and how clumsy it is when they try to switch from the storyboard to the actual code behind inside of the Swift file. You'll notice that, first of all, when they try to lay out the things on the screen, it's like they're dragging things on there and then they're like messing around with the toggles and switches. It's like really, really confusing. So the storyboard it's not a really good tool to learn how iOS works in the first place. It's kind of like HTML programming. You drag a bunch of tables and things inside of this HTML editor, and it's just a mess. But I understand everyone thinks that storyboards are easier, but in reality, it's not, and it's all right. I think I've talked about that for long enough. What is my full-time job? So I currently do contracting work as an iOS developer, and just contracting, but definitely not, not a full-time type of job. Build a chat group for all of the fans. So I think the problem with I guess I'm getting really bombarded by a lot of the chat messages. The issue, or the biggest thing that I'm running into right now, is because the YouTube channel is being ran just by myself, and that means I'm recording the videos, editing, posting everything on the website, making sure the website is updated to be able to support what I want to support in the future, and also at the same time preparing the tutorials or preparing the videos and all the material that you need to make the video entertaining and interesting. That takes a lot of time, which is, I don't like teaching is a skill that requires a lot of effort, and in order to make the material and the videos interesting, you really have to put in a lot of time to make sure the video, or make sure when you're recording that you can go through everything so that it's not so boring and dry, because I know a lot of programming videos are really dry. That's a problem. Do big companies like Facebook, Google, etc. use storyboards? So I know for a fact that Spotify does not use storyboards. I have a friend that works at YouTube, and he has kind of a funny story. I don't know if he's in this channel, but he said that he recently joined the iOS team at YouTube, and now he's he's helping develop the internal iOS app to manage all of the inventory that they have at YouTube. And he, his first day when he joined the team, he had to open the source code repository, and he wanted to look for the storyboards, but there are no storyboards in the YouTube repository. So that kind of says a lot about being in a professional environment and trying to still use storyboards. That's typically not very common to use it. And so the big thing about storyboarding and coding is that when you're a full-time developer, all you look at is code for at least 8 to 10 hours a day. And if you're just looking at code all day, you get very used to being very efficient and proficient at just coding. The moment you have to step back into storyboard mode, storyboard land, you find that your efficiency goes down tremendously. So that's the huge problem with storyboards. When you're a professional coder and programmer, you don't use any type of tool other than pure coding with your keyboard. Go anywhere, any company, programmers just code. I mean, that's what they're good at. They're coding, not black magic behind the storyboard, which is yeah. So Peter Spitzer says, I love to learn storyboardless coding, but everyone is using storyboard, all the tutorials, only you are special. So it's not that I'm special, it's just that everyone else making these tutorials is, I guess you guys kind of know this, but you guys are probably not aware of how tutorials and blogs work. Tutorials and blogs are meant to target the biggest or the largest audience possible, and it's because they want more traffic to their website. And so the easiest thing to generate traffic is to use the easiest tool that everyone sort of knows and everyone is kind of used to seeing. So because of that fact, everyone that's learning iOS programming kind of starts with a storyboard. I don't totally agree with that, but everyone knows how to use a storyboard, so it seems like, oh, okay, everything out there uses a storyboard. But the fact of the matter is that if you're in a professional environment, you probably will not see a storyboard. That's because, okay, here's a perfect example. When you're learning HTML programming or HTML scripting, there are a lot of tools that allow you to drag and drop like tables and divs and paragraph tags into some kind of thing, just like a storyboard. And then you'll notice that in any professional environment, no one uses the WYSIWYG editor. So that's just exactly how it is for iOS programming. The only exception is that the storyboard is actually pretty useful. So Udemy courses use storyboard, and okay, this is the last question I'm going to answer about storyboards. So top courses use storyboards, but what are they really making? Are they producing apps that people use? I mean, if you're trying to create something that's really complicated, of course you're going to have to dive down into the code. So that's how it works. Yeah, you're not wasting your time. I used to be a big storyboard developer, did it for like half a year, and then I figured out that, okay, you can actually do things faster if you don't use the storyboard as much. And then so I slowly start transitioning away from the storyboard, and then you just get used to working without it. That's how it is. You don't just go cold from nothing to coding. You sort of have to understand it all anyways. Please tell something about my job. So currently I'm just contracting, creating apps for, a couple of different clients, I guess. I used to work for this company called Touch of Modern. You guys probably saw it or saw pieces of it in some of my videos. And, it used to be an e-commerce company, did a lot of payment processing. Created the iOS app for that company, and also developed the Android app. So being able to program in both native iOS and native Android is pretty helpful if you want to be a good mobile developer. It's not exactly necessary to be good at both, and you'll find that not a lot of people are good at both. I don't exactly know why, but making an app similar to Pokemon Go. So Pokemon Go is pretty complicated. Deals with a lot of was it AR, augmented reality, and I, honestly don't have any experience in AR. All right, so another question that I always get is why do I always use collection view instead of a UI table view? So the reason, I guess the biggest reason is because a table view you can do so much more than or a collection view you can do more than, or how do I phrase this? When you're setting up a UI collection view, you're pretty much doing the exact same thing for a table view, but then you get all the benefits of, being able to do things with a collection view, which is like scrolling horizontally. Um, Also allows you to not have the headers and footers like clamped onto the top of the screen. Um, so that's a common question because everyone learns a table view first, and that's all they know. And then once you're programming iOS for a while, you sort of realize, oh, UI collection view is much better than UI table view. Why did I use that in the first place? All right, Felix. Hey, how's it going? How many hours have I spent perfecting my skills? So I've been programming ever since I was roughly like 16 or 17. And pretty much for, I don't know, like full-time coding and also coding on the side. I think I mentioned this in my other video. I don't watch any TV at all ever since, I don't know, I was like 21 or 22. I don't watch any TV shows, movies. Uh, I don't basically do anything other than coding, which, obviously you get better with more practice. Um, so the huge thing about being good at any other type of skill, so you guys are probably good at something in your life, right? Whether it be like cooking or playing sports or building, building a computer or something. Um, you probably spent a huge amount of time in your life developing that particular skill set, and this skill set is something that you'll carry with you for the rest of your life. If you spend the same amount of time trying to learn how to code and get good at coding and then actually make something out of it, you're gonna be really good at that particular skill. It's it's not, it's just a skill. You get better at it as you go along. Um, see what else is a interesting question. All right, here's a more computer geeky question. How do you handle the null pointer in Java? Is there any good answer? I'm hating the handling. Swift optionals are wonderful. So null pointers in Java, you can download a package called Juice or Goose. I can't remember what it's called, but Google has this Java library that allows you to use optionals. And so the whole reason why Swift uses optionals is because of this Goose Juice optional thing. And so optionals actually I believe it came from Java, or I guess Java got it from somewhere else too. But it was so popular in Java that when Swift was still in the creation process, of course they adopted optionals as well. Do I recommend going deeper in iOS animation and games, for example, or learn to develop on Android apps too? Um, so typically when I'm trying to give advice to people that are just trying to get into iOS development and try to get better at it, is to just do what makes you learn the fastest. Like obviously build whatever app that you find interesting. Don't build Facebook if you really hate Facebook. Um, so the biggest thing about learning is inspiration. You'll notice that throughout your entire life, the thing that you learn the best and fastest at is the thing that you found most inspirational. So if for me, like enjoy playing basketball or something, you'll go out and play like 8 hours a day, and you won't find it so strenuous or so tedious because you like it. If you're trying to learn something, just do what you like, and don't care so much what particular skill set you're developing. It's all going to help you in the long run. Is there any app in the world that's bug free? No. I mean, bugs exist for a reason. It's because humans are not perfect. Okay. So how did I mix between school time and coding? Well, if you study computer science, you don't have to worry about that fact. You're going to be coding for school. I guess the only thing is if you have exams, then you have to study for your exams, but most of that is still studying coding principles. So I actually didn't get a computer science degree when I was in college. I studied a lot of computer science though. I ended up getting an applied mathematics degree. Yeah, so I mean, I have mixed emotions about schools in general. Um, so I'm 32, so I've seen a lot of things that are wrong with how schools are teaching students and how the whole learning process for. Oh, is my audio not great? I think my audio is fine. Uh, can you guys hear me, or is it just this one person here? Okay. So yeah, I guess I don't want to ramble about schools for so long, but have you guys ever found yourself really, really bored at school, and you don't know why you're bored, or you don't know why you have to go to school? I think the biggest issue about school is that um, we have this. We've been kind of brainwashed to believe that if you're in school, you're going to learn, and you got to question whether or not that's true. If you're in school, you're not like most of the time you're not there to learn. You're just being there to babysit or someone's babysitting you for your parents. I think in like 90% of all school education systems, it's basically kind of a big babysitting program. I don't know if you guys agree with me on this or not. And the problem with schools is that, or the problem with education in general is when you're trying to learn something, you will go out of your way, go out of your way to find the material to learn this particular topic. And if you're going to school, it's the opposite way around. You're just going there, and then people are trying to cram things inside of you. It's it's not how humans learn. Humans learn through inspiration and to confirm their intuitions about how things will work. When you go to school, someone tries to explain to you their their kind of inspiration or their intuition, and it doesn't really trigger what you have to know as a human being to be able to firmly grasp this new concept. When someone's, I guess the main point is education tries to force information into your brain, whereas as humans, have to, you have to encounter a new concept or a new topic, and then if you find it interesting, that's when you really start to learn that topic. You can't force information into someone, and that's the biggest issue with the educational system. Yes, formal education is a scam, and getting a degree in some kind of college is a scam. Boot camps, in a way, are kind of scammy in that they will try to feed on the issues that formal education presents in society. I guess at the same time, they're trying to fix the issue where formal education just does not prepare you for the real world. And boot camps are really good for that because they try to really demonstrate to you what is required to get you a job in the real world. And if the formal educational system did that better, boot camps wouldn't be necessary. So boot camps are trying to bridge the gap between what the formal educational system doesn't do properly, and boot camps are trying to prepare you for the real world, which is what the educational system should be doing in the first place. School babysitting program, interesting. Yeah, have you guys just not thought of the school system as just some big babysitting program? I mean, it's pretty apparent and obvious to me. There's really no debate about that, to me at least. But I guess I'm pretty cynical about the world and how things work. Schools in developing countries are good though. Yeah, yeah. I'm not saying schools are bad. Here's the thing with any type of system, right? There's a diminishing return on anything, any good thing in the world. Once you reach a certain level, the return on how much you invest in it just drops. You don't get much for all the effort you put into it. So the educational system in the United States is just this huge machine that we put money into, and we don't get any return at all from it at a certain point. That's a problem. Yeah. All right. Let's get off the topic of debating about the educational system. I think it's fundamentally broken, but a lot of you guys. I mean, it's definitely helpful to have a school system in society. What is the best way to learn Swift, in my opinion? The best way to learn Swift is to follow my tutorials, obviously. If you have an interesting idea that you want to build out, you definitely should try to build out that particular app, that particular idea. The more you try to build something, the more you learn how you don't know how to build it. And once you answer all the questions around building something, you're going to be that much better at it. It's just imagine any other skill. Just try to build what you want to, or work towards what your vision is. Where do you go once you learn to code and know that your project works? Well, I guess once you get good enough at programming, you should probably go get a job as a professional at programming. Do you code any language besides Swift? Yeah, I mentioned in that other video that there's Swift, there's JavaScript, there's React. I guess that's React JavaScript. There is Google Go, there's Java, Android, and what else is there? There's other things like Ruby, but I don't really like Ruby. Do you think Google will ever adopt Swift? Highly unlikely. You're ranked number 9 on the App Store. Oh, and more. All right, that's pretty awesome. Which one do I advise to learn, machine learning or JavaScript? I guess JavaScript is more popular in terms of financial incentives. You should probably learn JavaScript first. Might be easier to get a job, but being good at machine learning seems difficult. But if you're really good at it, then you'll definitely make more money than being a JavaScript developer. Will I bring any videos about backend development? I think backend is really interesting. I don't know how many people are going to want to watch backend development videos on this channel though. I'm debating whether or not to start a new channel to kind of create other different tutorials and focus on other topics that might be interesting to other people. What do you guys think is a better idea? To put non-iOS related content on the same channel, or to move it to a different channel so that you guys don't get spammed with like Android, JavaScript, Google Go videos? Hey, Happy New Year, everyone. Yeah, for those of you guys that are just joining in late, Happy New Year's to everyone that's around the world. I know a lot of different folks in different countries watch the channel. Get a lot of people from the UK, India, Taiwan, some places in Africa, Canada, all of Europe, Asian countries, and also the U.S. the folks in the U.S. USA. Yeah, there's a. What's surprising is that the biggest audience that I get from the U.S. is New York, and then there's obviously California, Silicon Valley, and then there's places in Seattle, and then some places in like Texas and Florida that I didn't really know people were interested in iOS development there. Italy, Ukraine, hey. Yeah, there's a lot of people in Russia also that's watching the videos. How much would you charge to build an app like Snapchat? Well, Snapchat is a billion-dollar company, so maybe $1 billion. So some of you guys are saying put Android or put non-iOS related content on the same channel, and then I see a lot of other people saying on a separate channel. So I'm leaning more towards a separate channel because definitely don't want to spam. So obviously the channel is iOS related. Probably not going to put non-iOS related content on this channel. And then whenever I open the other channel, I'll let you guys know what it's called, and you guys can follow me there. Probably won't be until another month or two. Followed my tutorials, built an app on my own, put it on my resume, and got a job from Google. However, I may transition to Android development. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Andy Yang, Chinese. Yes. Oh yeah, I think I spoke to some of you guys in the last video in Chinese. How about I speak Chinese for a little bit here? Andy Yang，好久不见哦。还有就是这个吴自正这位男士哈，还有谁呢？哎，没有，好像只有2个人而已啊。Andy Yang, I believe you're from Taiwan. I can't remember if you're the Taiwanese guy that I spoke to. Oh, okay. So Z Zheng Wu is Wu Zizheng. And Gato Yip. Gatoyip. That sounds like a Cantonese name, so that's Gatoyip, which is 環有我. Hey, what's up? Yeah, hopefully, hopefully I can get a lot of these Chinese fans in here. Because definitely speaking Chinese is helpful to get a bigger audience, I guess. Anyhow, what is your next project for the channel? So I want to finish up the Twitter tutorial, the Twitter series. One of the biggest issues that I'm finding right now is I don't know how deep I want to get into the framework that I'm going to open source. The components that I use to build production applications they're kind of tricky, and the issue right now is I don't know how much or how confusing it will be for you guys. So I'm going to release, I haven't shot it yet, but I'm going to release the first video of me integrating these LPTA components, this framework to build out these lists. It's really easy to use and to build it, but it is one extra step that you have to learn. And however, I already know that some of you guys won't be able to learn it because it's a new framework, so you have to think differently. And I guess we'll see if it works out. Albert Liu, suddenly hear the familiar sound. Are we another Chinese person? Albert Liu, 你是从哪里来的？哎，好像是 Albert Liu 这个人是从台湾过来，台湾的朋友是吧？Albert Liu， 我还记得 Albert Liu 是我跟你好像在 YouTube 下面 comments 已經聊過天了吧，是吧 ？And Gatoyip, do you speak Cantonese too？ 係，我都係識講啲廣東話嘅，我即係由細到大都係聽啲廣東話長大嘅。So that's it。我猜對了啊。Can you make a tutorial on making frameworks? So one useful resource to create your own frameworks is to go to the CocoaPods, cocoapods.org, and try to build out your own pod. I guess I don't know how you define the word framework. The word framework to me means to build a certain set of tools to make your job easier as a developer. So the framework that I built, or the framework that I use that I built for all my production applications, it makes my life building out all of these list views just really, really easy. And once I can yeah, so building a framework just makes your life easier. Once you have a set of tools that could help you reduce like half an hour in your day, that's worth so much more than you think it is. 到底会多少种语言？其实并不多哎。因为我从小就跟我爸妈长大嘛，所以我们在家呢就是讲一种客家话，然后长大的那个过程也就是学了广东话，因为在加州会学广东话嘛，特别是在这个北边的加州然后后来就大概20岁的时候就开始学会了国语，因为当时的我就是那个时候是 YouTube 刚出来的嘛，然后 YouTube 刚出来的时候就可以看到很多不同的中文电影啊、中文短片啊，然后就开始学了中文，所以觉得就可以学到中文的，一定是这跟 YouTube 有关系的。你可以制作框架，框架是什么东西啊？ Uh, I wish I could speak Hebrew as you speak Chinese. Yeah, yeah. I definitely think that being able to speak multiple languages, like multiple verbal languages, will help you as a programmer. And it's because languages, the way you think, the way your brain works, it's basically you're heavily influenced by the language that you speak primarily. So I primarily speak English. So my thought processes are definitely going to be English biased. And because I also know Chinese very, very well, I can kind of uh, go from one language to the other language pretty fluidly. And being able to go from one concept to another concept, or I guess one system to another system, you do that a lot in programming a lot. So if you're able to go from one thing to another very fluidly, you're going to learn you're going to be able to learn or pick up different iOS skills very easily as well. So I'm a heavy, heavy advocate for learning more languages. Seems like Cantonese and Mandarin is tougher than storyboards. So the good thing about learning Swift and learning other programming languages is that you have a compiler that is your friend. You think about language learning, the easiest way to learn a new language is if you have a friend that speaks that particular language and you can have that friend conversate with you, that's the only way you can learn a language. Basically, the compiler is this friend. You tell it the words of that language, which is Swift, and then the compiler tells you whether or not it's wrong. So the language learning just works very, very similarly. What do you think about Swift Playgrounds app for iPad? I personally haven't used it before because I'm not really a big Playgrounds person in the first place. I prefer just diving straight into Xcode, running the Vue controller, and then just start programming in the Vue to load function. I guess what I'm trying to say is that the playground is sort of artificial in many different respects. How I immigrated to United States, tell your entire story. Well, I wish I could tell you that I immigrated from some third world country, came here and made a life for myself by by what's the story? What's the classical story? Picking yourself up by the bootstraps and working with what you had to get an education and go through life as an immigrant. I wish I could tell you that story, but my background is pretty plain. My parents immigrated to the United States from Vietnam. I grew up in this place called Sacramento, California, which is the capital of California, but it's a pretty small. I wouldn't consider it small, but I just grew up here. I was born here and grew up here. Just a plain old American citizen. Whether or not you guys like Americans are a different story, right? I guess we get a really bad rap for a lot of the things that we try to stick our butts into or stick our nose into. USA, USA. Yeah. Can I give reference link to my framework? So in the next video, I'm going to be building the next Twitter video that requires us to build out this entire list view for the users and the tweet cells at the bottom. I'm going to use my framework for that. So I'm going to show you guys how to install that with CocoaPods. And then I'm going to show you guys how to integrate this library as a pod, create this very simple list layout. And it doesn't require a lot of lines of code, which is why it's helpful. So the one thing about being a good programmer is that we are it's not that we're lazy, but we always think about how can we do this with the least amount of effort to do the same task and to make it even faster and better. Being a good programmer means that you have the mindset of, okay, how can I do this faster? How can I do this faster? How can my code be less lines of code? How can I get rid of this function? How can I make sure when I run this function, I can pass it anything and it'll still work? As a good programmer, that's constantly going through my head, and that's just a refactoring process to make your program much better. Are you familiar with GeoFire? Just a little bit. I had a student in boot camp that used GeoFire to make kind of a Google, not a Google, but Pokemon Go style game where you figure out locations on a grid and place a bunch of different items on the grid. And then that guy worked at YouTube, so definitely a really, really smart guy. Thanks a lot for all my video tutorials, really helpful. Yeah. Really hope you guys enjoy learning from a different perspective of non-storyboard style programming. Somehow we found ourselves back in the storyboard land. Gotta go. Extensions. Extensions is just, I don't know. It's just attaching new code onto your class. I don't really see. I don't know. I don't think there's anything other than that worth discussing. Yeah, it's definitely helpful. I'm not saying it's not helpful. It's just, it's just a more code in a different file, right? Boss got really mad at me for using my storyboard method. Well, I don't have a storyboard method. It's just not using them at all. I expect an apology. Really depends on where you're at. Some people like using storyboards. I mean, I like to use storyboards for a long time. And I started out with zip files in like iOS 5, I think, where they didn't have storyboards at all. Then when storyboards came out, I was like, oh, wow, this is a really cool, really, really nice way of laying out everything in your app. And then in the year 2013 or 2012, when Xcode was really, really crappy, the storyboard compiler took forever to compile all my storyboards. So I decided to so for every controller that I wanted to add to my storyboard project, I just created it manually in code. And I found that it was much faster to get things done at my job and, get the raise that you want. And after a while, you start to realize, oh, I can just move everything into its own class file and just ditch the whole storyboard entirely. And then you realize, oh, that wasn't so hard. Everything's faster anyways. Here's an interesting question. Albin CR says that, I saw your easy JSON parsing, tutorial. Is there any way to make it more like Object Mapper kind? Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Object Mapper source code for the pod that you're talking about, you can definitely follow the source code in the Object Mapper repository. I guess one thing I'll say about my videos is that it's more meant for educational. So hopefully you guys kind of understand how things work behind the scenes. Because what you'll find is most tutorials just kind of tell you, oh, just do it this way, you'll be okay. They never really explain how things really, really work. Like the true concepts behind iOS programming, there's much more behind the storyboard than you think. Would it be possible to make or explain how to initiate a UI view like a rectangle from the dimensions from Firebase? I mean, just give it an X, Y, width, and height. I mean, that's pretty simple. Xcode is slow enough. Storyboard makes the programming not cool. Again, storyboards is not a terrible tool. Yeah. The storyboard's not the worst thing in the world. I probably make it seem like it is. The thing you'll find about the thing you'll find weird about programmers is that once they don't like one thing, they make it seem like it's like the plague. Am I a freelance developer? If so, how do I find work? Yeah, so I developed some projects on the side, and currently that's how I'm making a living. Uh, I mean, I really want to see the YouTube channel take off so that I don't have to work side jobs anymore. But as you guys all know, it's very difficult to make a living in today's world. Maybe I should open up a Patreon account. How many of you guys will donate $5 to me if I open up a Patreon account? Maybe I should open it up tomorrow because I feel like everyone's more giving on the new year. Uh, Question with Firebase. Is it possible to do online presence user countdown for a chat room? Hopefully, you guys know that Twitch.tv uses Firebase to support the chat that's on the side of Twitch video game streaming. So yeah, totally is. Will I ever build an app that has self-sizing or self-resizing cells by its content or by user input? Self-sizing cells is something that's always tricky, and there's a Facebook dynamic cell sizing content video on the Facebook feed tutorial that hopefully you'll find helpful, and it should allow you to size your cells vertically depending on the content inside of each cell. Let's see what else is interesting in the chat. One more thing I wanted to ask is that if you code the UI, there will be a lot of magic values, and later on it becomes hard to manage. How do you deal with this issue? I disagree that there will be a lot of magical values. So for every iOS project that I've worked on, the design is pretty static. The only thing that changes is sometimes the text inside of a comment box will have to change vertically. Yeah, I guess that's a designing so that your code can support multiple sizes horizontally is pretty easy. If you use auto layout, it kind of just works. Talk about my experience with SpriteKit. I don't really have much experience with SpriteKit, unfortunately. How do I create this search for friends to select for chat? Building out the search bar isn't that hard if you just include a search in the very top. I mean, there's a component called UI search bar. You just put it in the navigation bar, click on it, start typing, and handle the UI search bar delegate. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, how different is Android XML layout from coding UI in iOS? Building out the layout in XML in Android is actually much easier and way faster than it is in iOS. In Android, I actually use the XML editor to build out the UI because it makes a lot of sense. If you ever learn how to build the UI correctly in Android, you'll find how the iOS storyboard is just pretty silly. Um, okay, hey, the crab, welcome to the channel. Have you seen the new Uber? How do you do the sliding views at the bottom? So I haven't really seen the new Uber app. I don't really use Uber all that often. How long does it take you to turn out a video series at YouTube, from coding it to editing the video to publish? Thoughts on getting an assistant to help with that turnaround process? Uh, yeah, I guess no one's really asked me this question before. Sean Sneed. Are you the same Sean from the San Francisco meetup? I think you are. So first question is, how long does it take to turn out a video series? It does take pretty long to build out the demo application. And then to create the very first video is the one that takes the longest, because um, I don't always have a good feeling for what I should start out, the topic that I should start out with first. So the first video takes a long time, and then once the first video is out, or once I record the first video, I get a good feel for uh, the pacing that I need for the entire series, and then I can just pump it out pretty quickly. It probably takes like a week to develop the demo, and then it takes maybe a day or two to record each video. But I don't really focus on recording videos like the entire day, so maybe that's why I'm just really slow at it. Editing is what is the hardest part of producing the videos, because this is my first time editing videos. You guys can probably tell by the lack of editing in a lot of the videos. So there you go. It's really hard to change default controls, navigation bar, tab bar, etc. I guess. I don't really understand that question. Where do you live and what do I do? So I live in San Francisco, California. I guess more specifically, South San Francisco of California. What do I do? I used to be a full-time iOS Android developer. And now I'm doing contract work and trying to build a YouTube audience so I can retire early. Really. What's my opinion on RX Swift? So I believe that's a reactive Swift, I think. I mean, I like reactive. That's a lot. I don't see it as a. So the problem with our JavaScript is that there are no good frameworks out, or not. There's no consensus on the correct framework to use for JavaScript. However, there's UIKit for Swift, which makes everything pretty easy, I think. Kevin Dom, considering buying a new Mac for iOS, considering buying a new Mac for iOS development, do you have any suggestions? Just buy whatever you can afford, really. Yeah, I mean, so when I had a full-time job, I decided to buy a MacBook for $2,500, which is pretty expensive, but I'm still using it to this day, so I think it's a good investment. How can I make a UI view fill up from the bottom to the top with UI color as long as I am pushing a button? Well, you just draw the UI view with the top constraint and the bottom constraint to the top and the bottom and put a color in it. You have amazing UI layout tutorials, but can you please make more videos about backend and server side and deep dive about the advanced side of development? Yeah, maybe later on I can provide some of that stuff. So Hamid, why are all tutorials on YouTube using storyboards except for me? Well, you'll find that, I mean, you probably don't understand this. I guess, what do I want to say here? So the question is, why are all the tutorials on YouTube using storyboards except for me? Simple answer to that is, you'll find that most of the folks that are creating these storyboards tutorials I guess one, they're not really making anything all that advanced with their tutorials. And I guess from what I've seen, I don't think any of those guys are professional iOS developers. So I don't think they've seen a lot of what the real world looks like. I mean, I'm not saying I'm all that great, but I've definitely seen more of it. It almost feels like people that are making these tutorials, they make it after they learned how to use it for a day, is my opinion on all that stuff. Yeah, yeah. I really don't like being negative about anything, so I don't really want to continue on with slamming anyone that's making tutorials online. I mean, everyone that's creating these iOS tutorials on YouTube, they're doing a great job, and it's not easy making these tutorials. So I really don't want to say anything more negative about anyone out there doing what they want to do. It's all up to them. And you'll find that, I guess you guys probably can sort of see this from my videos, but I'm pretty, or I guess a lot of programmers are strongly opinionated. Okay, so, all right, last storyboard thing. Please use storyboard because most developers like me prefer storyboards. Not true. Aren't you tired of storyboard questions? So annoying. Yes, pretty tired of the storyboard questions. I think I'll just create a storyboard video and blast it to hell and have everyone flame that video, and then we'll move on from there. You can make an outlet to your constraint, and then you can change the constant property on the outlet for some animation stuff. Yes, IB outlets and IB actions are, if you try to explain what IB actions and IB outlets are to someone that's not in iOS programming, they're going to give you a really, really strange look. I'm at a party right now. I can't follow. Will this be recorded and available afterwards? I'll probably take it down, so I guess I'll leave it on for like a day or two, and then I'll probably take this video down. Learn to program and you'll never be unemployed. That is true. The good thing about being a programmer is that you're constantly learning, and then the better you get at being a programmer, the better you are as an employee for the company, or the higher your value to that company. Becoming an iOS developer, is it a good career? That's a good question. I think being strictly an iOS developer is probably not the best career choice. Being a solid all-around developer is a very good career choice. So what I mean is understand how to build a backend, understand how to build the iOS client, the Android client, and then the JavaScript front-end client. And then also understand how the database works. You'll find that everyone or anyone that works at Facebook, Google, YouTube, Twitter, pretty much every engineer there understands exactly how to build every component of the stack. They probably don't know how to do it now, but if you ask them to just go learn how to build the iOS app, most of them will tell you, okay, and then they'll be able to do it in like a week or two. When is the Twitter video 2 coming out? So I haven't recorded it yet. Once I shut this live stream off, we'll start recording the second video. All right. Omatayo Jacob says, nice work. For all my tutorials, I've been able to replicate them using storyboards and it wasn't difficult. I'm a storyboard person, but I don't have any problem with your tutorials using code. Yeah, if you want to build the thing using storyboard, you're more than welcome to. It's totally fine. With constant changes to Swift and iOS, how much time do I spend rewriting code? Very, very little. The tool that converted all my 2.3 Swift code to 3.0 just did it all for me. And then I went in for like 10 minutes and fixed everything, and that was it. Do you think having a bachelor's degree will help you get a better job as a developer? I think having a bachelor degree gets you kind of in the door, or not even in the door nowadays. You probably missed our early discussion about the formal educational system and how much of a scam it is. But unfortunately, having a bachelor's degree is not enough to get you a job as a developer these days. You need things like internships and a good portfolio of projects that you've worked on in the past. And you also need to be able to articulate yourself and say what you did for those particular projects. You'll find getting a job as a developer very demanding. And if you're not a demanding person of yourself, you probably won't last as a developer for many years. Yeah, so I'm constantly demanding myself to learn more things, and that's what I find fun about being a programmer. Hacking with Swift may be a good Swift book series. Yeah, probably. It's a good website too, hackingwithswift.com. I actually risk entire life into coding. I don't really know what you mean by risk entire life into coding. Jason, someone will always have to program the tech. If robots program the tech for us, then there is literally zero jobs left. Robots will never replace humans in terms of the programs that we create for the robots. Someone has to write the program that helps out humans, and robots will never be able to help. I guess if robots take over the world, then I guess humans will be no longer a necessary aspect of the earth. Maybe that's a good thing. Rid the earth of the cancer that is humanity. What do you think about React Native? So I used React Native before I learned how to use React.js. So thought it was kind of strange at first. But now it should be pretty straightforward to adopt React Native. One thing good about React Native is when you develop the app, the code, you don't have to recompile and run the app. You just hit this button and then it's like a page that reloads itself. It's really, really quick. What is my video equipment, microphone, etc.? So I guess hey, this is a perfect time to show you guys my camera. All right, so let me just unscrew this camera here. All right, so I guess I'm going to be a tech review channel for the next 5 minutes. You see this camera right here? It is a Panasonic GH4 or Lumix GH4. It does record in 4K. The lens right here, or I guess, see this guy right here, it's a GH4, records in 4K, has a articulating screen so I can kind of like see myself. You know, when you're recording the video, it's always useful to be able to see yourself like this. So you can just see yourself right here. And this is the 12 to 35 millimeter lens that's on top of this camera right here. I can actually take it off right here. So this lens, 12 to 35 millimeter. And it's really helpful to get yourself into the shot so that you don't like fill up the entire screen. I used to use this other lens, a shorter, or I guess uh, a 20 millimeter lens, which I found pretty useful. But I decided to use a 12 millimeter instead. In terms of recording audio, which is super, super duper important, probably more important than the video camera itself, I used to use this Blue Yeti, this microphone called the Blue Yeti. And so currently it's not plugged in. And I find the audio coming out of this thing is so tremendously good. The audio coming from this guy is just unbeatable. I mean, I sometimes sound like a radio DJ using this Blue Yeti. But the issue is that this mic, you record, the way it works is that the audio plane that gets captured is kind of horizontal or perpendicular to the head of the mic. So you have to speak into it like this to get the best audio. And the further you get away from the mic, obviously the worse the audio quality is, but the drop off from being this close to this is so dramatic that you won't be able to use it unless you are really, really close to it. So what I find is that it definitely limits my range of movement during the recordings. So I have to like stick my face right here for the entire time, which gets somewhat uncomfortable. And now I'm actually standing to record my videos because I'm experiencing old age. Basically, I'm having back problems, so I don't really want to sit for too long. And I'm just standing for the entire day, which means recording on this audio, this Blue Yeti, is really hard now. But the audio coming from that thing is just great. 10 out of 10 for the audio quality. Can I show you my laptop? Currently no, because it's underneath my standing desk. I don't really want to take off my webcam right now. I guess maybe I can. So here's the setup. Hopefully. So here's all of the equipment that I use is pretty much on top of my desk right here. And then here's the keyboard, which is pretty dirty. Here's the laptop right there. You'll see all the stickers that are on top of it. Basically having nieces and little kids around. They love to stick stickers on everything. But yeah, here's the lens. I guess all the little software programs that I use down there. And then here's the tripod. So it's basically recording that. And then the umbrella light there. So yeah, the setup's pretty simple. I don't have a ring light like the makeup video bloggers do. Maybe I should get a ring light. Can I please upload videos with 4K quality? I'll probably never record in 4K. The issue with 4K is that the recording process is super difficult for anyone that has if you've edited 4K quality, you'll notice how much longer it takes. And because the screen that I capture will be so difficult to read if you're on a 1080p display, watching a 4K display, that it doesn't make sense to record in 4K, at least with the screen. And I find that the video recording the camera, the part that's recording me in the tutorials, no one really cares how good that quality is. Mostly everyone here is just for the Swift programming anyways. Okay, here's an interesting question. I guess, when is the next vid for the Twitter clone? Probably tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll get it for the New Year's. Do I prefer to build my own function or just find a library? I 100% always prefer to build my own function for the thing that I need. What you'll find is when you download a pod, it comes with like 10 different things that you don't need. What characteristics do you feel would most contribute to success in being a developer? That's a good question. So being a good developer involves a lot of different unique skill sets that you need as a good employee. That, I mean, I didn't understand this until like 3 to 4 years in the programming industry. The most important thing that you need to separate yourself from being a junior developer to a senior developer is the senior guy knows what to research and knows how to figure out how to solve any type of problem using any type of tool that they can get their hands on. Junior developers typically will kind of give up really, really early on. So being a successful developer is usually just similar to being a really good Google searcher, a Stack Overflow searcher. If you find yourself struggling at the step of Googling your own questions, then you're probably not going to be the best developer in the world. Do I really recommend using Firebase or building my own API? So because I know how to build a backend server, I obviously will build it out myself. If you don't want to spend all the time on building out your own backend, then Firebase is probably the next best solution. Whether or not it's good for production, it probably is. Yeah. Is looping a sustainable method for looking up records in a database? No. My thoughts on simulation theory, I have none. I don't know what you're talking about when you say simulation theory. What language do you use to build your own API? So I use Google Golang. I used to be Ruby on Rails and Java developer, but those languages I find really difficult compared to Google Go. In-app purchase tutorial. That's a good one. I don't really make in-app purchase apps, but I've definitely done it before. What technology do you use for your own backend server? So Google Go again. Can you show us how to make your own API? Yeah. So I plan on creating a Node.js API, something or other. What should I learn, or what's your top edge advice for the person who wants to learn about backend server? Building out a backend, if you don't know how it works, is kind of overwhelming at first. So you just have to start off with, how do I produce JSON? Or how do I hit a server on my browser so that it produces some type of JSON? That's the first thing you need to learn. Once you're able to do that, you can do anything, pretty much. Architap has an in-app purchase. Yeah, I think he released, was it Jared? I think he released an in-app purchase tutorial. I guess either he's already done it or soon. Oh yeah, he just uploaded it today. Yeah, you guys should definitely go check out Jared's tutorial at Architap. Jared Davidson, I think his last name is. Good guy. Hopefully he is able to get his degree. I think he's going to college and get his degree in whatever he wants to study and keep doing what he wants to do. Yeah, because producing YouTube tutorials is it's difficult. He probably finds it very time consuming as well. And I don't really know what his plans are in terms of being a full-time developer or a full-time YouTube person. I feel like he like once he gets into the real world as a full-time developer, his perspective on iOS programming will change. Maybe for the better, maybe for the worse. Yeah. All right. Big thanks from Tunisia, Spirit University. Saved your life. All right. That's awesome. Okay. 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 So it seems like everyone's done for the day. All right, so it seems like, wow, it's been an hour and a half. I can't believe you guys don't have anywhere else to go other than spending it here. Yeah, so how many of you guys have interesting New Year's party plans? Just kind of curious about that. Or are we just really, really lonely programmers in this channel? All right, seems like the stream has died for me. So I'm gonna either so is everyone still here? All right. All right, who's still here and who's gone? Apologies for my internet connection dying on me earlier. Oh wow, it seems like I missed quite a bit of questions right here. Okay, do I have an official job? No, I do not currently. How many hours do I sleep per day? Very little. I don't find myself wanting to. Okay, I think I'm back. Okay, so it seems like everyone has left already. Good stuff. Okay, so yeah, Happy New Year's, everyone, and have fun wherever you guys are at. Enjoy yourselves. Bye.